This module, we're going to focus on classroom design. I have to say, this module is just so much fun to me. I love the concept of setting up my classroom and decorating my classroom. It's truly one of the aspects I miss the most about teaching middle school. Classroom design is really important though, because you want your students to feel safe, you want your students to feel comfortable, and how you set up and manipulate your classroom can truly have an impact on your students' academic success. So let's first look at some basic things that a 21st century classroom should have. You got to decide what kind of seating arrangements you're going to have for students. Are you going to have tables? Are you going to have desks? Are you going to form them into groups? We're going to talk about some different arrangements in just a minute. What other type of workspaces are you going to have? Are you going to have a place where you can pull groups aside and do small group sessions? Are you going to have, if you're teaching younger children, are you going to have carpet time where you're going to bring the whole group to the floor? Where's your desk going to be located so you can view all of your students while you're sitting at your desk? Are you going to have a technology space? Especially nowadays, you need to have a space dedicated for your students to work with technology. Where are your classroom materials going to be located? Where are your students going to feel comfortable in your class? So especially if you have a lot of literacy involved, are you going to have a place where students can go and read? Are you going to have some nice lighting there so students aren't always reading under fluorescent lights? Where's your classroom library going to be? Are you going to have a maker space in your classroom? Where are you going to hang your whiteboards or your smart boards or your TVs? All this is going to change. A lot of it is going to depend upon the materials that your school system provides to you. But as a teacher, we can also be thrifty too and bring in our own materials as well. So I just want you to start this week generating some ideas of what your ideal classroom is going to look like. Again, like I mentioned a while ago, you've got to think about layout. So pictured here are some options for you. You've got independent work layouts. If you're going to have group discussions or you're going to have demonstrations, maybe you do more of a U-shape. If you're going to do group work or learning stations, start thinking about how you're going to group those desks together. Just as important with layout, you've got to start thinking about, once you get to know your kids in your class, seating charts are going to be very important to you. How are you going to decorate your walls? So you want to make it engaging, you want to make it fun. You want to make it walls that are going to actually help your students memorize concept, but you also don't want to make it so overwhelming that students are distracting. As it mentions here, keep 20 to 50% of your wall space clear to really optimize your students' learning. Lighting is very important. As I sit here in my office, I don't turn on my overhead fluorescent lights just because it gives me a headache. What's giving me a headache? What do you think it's doing for your students? So, consider keeping your blinds open. If you can bring in some lighting, some lamps, that type of thing for some warm lighting instead of those overhead lights, it can really help your students. Bulletin boards. So I used to nerd out over some bulletin boards. I love decorating bulletin boards. There's some great ideas on Pinterest, on some teacher forums. So just start thinking about some general ideas of what your bulletin boards are going to look like. I would encourage you, like the ones here, of making your bulletin boards interactive. So don't just make it something that students just stare at. Make it something, maybe it holds your exit tickets over here. Maybe it's something where if students are finished, maybe they can go grab a coloring sheet and sit down and color while the rest of the class is finishing their work. Maybe it's something where you're making a chart or interactive Venn diagram. So make it something that your students actually get involved with in class. I love this here. You've got to dedicate a space to show off your students' work. Students love that positive reinforcement of being able to see their work around the class. So maybe you utilize a bulletin board for that, or maybe you just make a space in class that you're going to show off their work. And then start thinking about how you're going to organize your classroom. Are you going to have bins with the students' notebooks in there? How are you going to organize their supplies at their desk? How are you going to organize your supplies as a teacher? That's going to be huge as well. Again, there's a lot of great ideas on Pinterest and teacher forums, but it's something that I want you to start thinking about this week. I couldn't end this without showing you some pictures. I cannot believe I still have these. This was actually in my teaching portfolio that I used to carry around with me on interviews and that type of thing. But this was my first classroom at Carrington Middle School in Durham. Looking back on it, I will say there's a lot of things I love about this classroom, but there's a lot of things that now that I have more experience that I would do differently. I will say the one thing that I love the most about my classroom is this bulletin board here. This was my No Name Graveyard. I actually stole that from my teacher that I supervised under when I did my student teaching. But anytime I got a paper with no name, it went in the No Name Graveyard, and students know that they could go over there and check and see if their paper was over there. Notice I have rules displayed. I have a specific place for students to turn in classwork, to turn in homework. I love my idea. This was later on down the road, but I had pencils stuck to the whiteboard. Students always knew they could go up there and borrow one, but they knew before they left that there needed to be 5 pencils there. You got your date, your objective, your agenda. I had a place outside my classroom that I would display to other students, my students' work, but I also had a place, you could see up here in the back of my classroom, where I would display their work as well. This wall over here, the very colorful one, I always had students at the beginning of the semester do their math autobiographies, and so they would bring in pictures from home to tell a little bit about themselves, and we would hang those up on this wall here. So yeah, there's a lot of things I love about it. I will say the biggest thing that if I could go back and change, it would be the desk. I would probably go and invest in getting my students a variety of seating arrangements. Not all 7th grade students can sit in a desk for an hour and 30 minutes, so I would have come up with, options for flexible seating in my classes. So let's look at the assignment that I'm going to have you do this week. All right, so I'm going to go over the first option here. This is the KI Classroom Planner. This is the one that I prefer. Another reason why I prefer this one is that you don't have to create an account with this. So I never want you to feel obligated that you have to sign up for something. So you don't have to sign up for anything with this one. You just click on our link in Moodle and you hit Launch the Planner. So you will have to title it. So you can call it just Classroom Design, whatever you want to call it is fine. I chose a traditional learning space. I kept it in feet. You can pick whatever shape you want for your classroom. I kept mine a traditional just rectangle. And then you can go in and put dimensions in here. Like the typical classroom is about 800 to 1100 square feet. Again, if you want more space than what I have here, that's fine. I made mine 35 by 25. So again, just a traditional rectangle. Again, feel free. You can change it however you would like. So you can start with an image that will generate some furniture for you. I prefer to leave mine blank, so I just left it blank here, and then you just hit start. So there's a variety of things you can do with this site. I started by changing the floor. So if you click on the floor here, you can go to material, and you can choose a different color. You could remove this color here. If I go to choose a different color, notice I could choose a color of my floor, or I hit materials, which is what I did. And you could choose whatever material you want. So maybe you have a wood floor. Again, you can be as creative as you want to be with this. I had probably too much fun. I probably spent a little too much time when I was creating this assignment for you all. So if I go back here, I can start adding objects. You can look at all different types of things here, whether it be couches or tables or student desks or so many different options here. You can also do this sort over here on the left hand side, but let's just say, for example, that I wanted to add a table. So I could just drag it and drop it over here. You can click on the image and you can rotate it however you would like. Put it wherever you want. You can also delete it if you decide that you don't want it anymore. Let's say I add a chair to that. I'm going to put it over here, and then I'm just going to rotate that little guy. So there's my first student desk, for example. Another cool feature about this is you can hit 3D and you can look at it from a 3-dimensional perspective. So you can just see how your classroom is taking shape here. You can also change the color of the walls if you want to. You can click on the wall and do the same thing like we did with the floor here. But you can add as many objects that you would like. I would like to see that you have created a seating plan for at least 20 students. And I would like to see where your teacher desk is going to be. Again, I would encourage you to start thinking about, though, what type of storage are you going to have? Where are you going to put the storage in your classroom? Where are you going to put a table for your students to turn in assignments? So I'll just show you from this software what mine looked like here. This was the one that, again, I spent way too much time on. This was the one that I worked on designing just to show you an example here. So I'll show you the three-dimensional view of my classroom. I told you a while ago when I was looking at my pictures of my first classroom, one of the things that I wish I would have changed about it was to provide more flexible seating for my students. So some students prefer desks. Maybe some students would like to sit on the floor. Maybe some students would prefer, high top tables. I would envision some kind of like comfortable seating, like a couch or a beanbag, and I would use that as a reward system for students. And throughout the year, different students would be able to sit there. I would have my students turn in their work over here. I would have loved to have in my classroom some kind of space for me to start pulling small groups. So that's why I set this up over here. But yeah, I was really excited when I developed this. This would probably be my ideal middle school classroom here. So once you have your classroom laid out the way you would like, there is the option to save my room up here, but I will warn you that's going to prompt you to create that account, and I told you did not have to create an account for this site. If you just right click on your classroom image, you can do a save image as, save it to, whatever you want to. I think I called mine my classroom. And then it's going to bring you an image here. This is what you can turn in this week to Moodle. I do want to point out to you, when you turn in your classroom design here, there will be a text box provided right below your submission. And I just want you to include a brief rationale for why you set up the classroom the way you set it up. Give me a little description of, where you envision your students turning in things, where you envision your teacher desk being. Why did you put your teacher desk where you did? Why did you arrange the desk like you did? It doesn't need to be an essay or anything like that, just a brief rationale there. So I do want to show you real quick your second option, and that's the Kaplan floor planner. It is right here. It's Floor Planner 2.0. You just click here. You do have to sign up for an account. It is a free account, so you can see here that I've signed up for one. Again, I don't want you to feel obligated to have to sign up for an account, so you can use the other one, but you can see here that this floor planner really is geared towards that early elementary school. There are some templates that you can start with floor planner here. Please just make it your own. I don't want to see the same floor plans that other teachers have submitted, but again, you can use it as a starting point. So I'll show you again what it looks like. It is very similar in setup to the other one here. There's different furniture that you can put in there, different tables and chairs, and you can manipulate those and turn them just like you can with the other one. I will say this one to me was a little trickier to navigate, but you can see it turned out fine. In terms of 3D, you can see my classroom. This would be for like if I was teaching in elementary school, how I would envision it being set up with cubbies and, like I said, a time over here to gather as a class, so carpet time, maybe a reading nook, a teacher desk with, individual, your small group set up. So once you're done, if you use this one here, what you'll do is you'll come over here to the print option at the top right, and then instead of printing it, you'll choose the option that says save as a PDF, and that'll be able to save your image, and that's what you can turn in to me. If you have any questions about using either of these software, please email me, let me know. Like I said, I hope this is a fun assignment for you. I hope this gets you excited for how you envision your ideal classroom looking like. Again, if you have questions, please just let me know.